Hey YouTube, RicoKnows here. Going to continue my series talking about hidden gems, right? If you didn't know, I am identifying one hidden gem on every single team in America. I'm going alphabetical by conference, and then I'm doing the teams alphabetically. So currently, we're in the Big Ten, and I'm on the second team in the Big Ten. I'm doing Indiana. But if you want to see all the other teams and all the other hidden gems, go to the homepage on YouTube, click on playlist, and find the 2024 college football hidden gems. But for this team and for this season, I'm looking at Indiana. And if you guys don't follow me on TikTok, if you don't follow me on Twitter, if you don't follow me on Patreon, if you don't follow me on YouTube, I need you to understand that I'm all in on Indiana. I love everything Curt Cignetti's doing. I love this entire transfer portal that they've just infused their entire team with transfer portal players. Yes, a lot of people will tell you it's just a bunch of JMU dudes moving over. That's not true. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. But they have studs everywhere. Now, I can't go around and just point out every single stud because, yes, Donovan here, McCauley, didn't drop a single pass last year. We have Surratt's 1,000-yard receiver. We have all these studs. But if I had to try to point out a player that you guys don't know about, I was like, yo, I could tell you about C.J. West, defensive nose tackle coming in from Kent State. I could tell you about Aiden Fisher and Jalen Walker, two dudes I truly love, leading tacklers last year for JMU. And then you got Najee Logan coming over from UMass. They're evaluating linebackers different from everybody else. They're taking 0-star linebackers and making them amazing players. And it's really important that you start to identify coaching staffs that know how to evaluate players. And know that the recruiting for dummies is what I call it. The recruiting websites, that's recruiting for dummies. You ever wonder why certain 3-star players that go to Georgia end up getting drafted? Like if you do some research on it, you will find a number of 3-star players from Georgia getting drafted. It's because they're not 3-star players. It's because Georgia didn't give a shit how many stars they had. They said, those are good players. They can play for us. They're not worried about the stars. And when you have that approach to recruiting and you don't worry about the recruiting stars and the websites and you let your own evaluation process take place and that holds precedence, this is what you run into. You run into finding gems, diamonds in the rough. And we saw that with D'Angelo Pons last year as a freshman. This is a young man from Chaminade, Florida, playing at a powerhouse, but they say he's too small. And then he becomes a freshman All-American. I can't call him a hidden gem. I can't identify him as a hidden gem. So my hidden gem is going to be somebody who I think everybody should know about. And that is Shawn Asbury II. Shawn Asbury II last year was one of the leading tacklers on ODU, Old Dominion. But that's not where he started his journey. That's not where I know him from initially. And I want to show you guys where I learned about Shawn Asbury and then how we go and what I think about it, okay? So it all starts with Shawn Asbury out of high school, plays in Virginia. He's listed as a defensive back, a punt returner, all this stuff. He's all state defensive back, but his whole highlight tape is him with ball skills. Here he is returning a punt or a kick. I don't know what it was, but he just can't be stopped, right? He's obviously better than the people on the field, and everybody knows it. He's just a complete stud. He's been good from the jump. You see him here at running back. He's not a running back, but yes, he is. He'll make a cut and run to daylight. He's just going to go find an opening somewhere and go. And nobody else on the field can tackle him because those aren't Saturday players. So you go from being this elite, dominant running back, right? Here he is catching a pass out of the backfield, and you just outdo everybody on the field every chance you get. So here's what happens. Look at these moves. He's going to put the moves on people. Here's what happens, though. He gets recruited and he signs with Boston College. So why that's significant is he's not signed at Boston College to be a running back. He's not signed at Boston College to be a special teams guy. He's there to be a defensive back. And this is 2021. And if you don't know, Jeff Hafley was the head coach at Boston College from 2020 until last year. He just got fired. And he didn't get fired, but he just moved on, and he moved over back to the NFL to be a defensive coordinator, I believe, for the Packers. And Hafley, his whole experience as a coach is as a defensive coordinator and secondaries coach. And I have a lot of respect for the players that Hafley finds in the secondary and that he develops. Elijah Jones, who's the kid who transferred to Texas A&M last year. His name escapes me right now. But When I look at Boston College, their defensive backs were always really good. And it's just Hafley knowing how to find players that are good DBs. It's what he does. Some coaches have that skill set, right? Some people just can do it. So while you watch all this tape and you see a running back kind of athletic, making people miss. Look at that. He can make people miss in the hole. He's spinning. He hit the circle button on his PlayStation controller, and he's just great. But you tell this young man, all right, you're going to come play DB for me, and how does it work out? So he initially goes to Boston College, doesn't really see the field all that much. He does initially, and then he gets injured. So you parlay that injury at Boston College into 2 years at ODU. So you transfer to ODU, first year, 11 games, 3 starts, not a big deal. But last year, oh man, started every game, honorable mention, all conference, ton of tackles everywhere, and it's pretty important. In one of those games against JMU, he had an interception, 6 tackles. So you do that against JMU, and now Curt Cignetti's going over to Indiana, and he knows a guy that he played against, that he coached against, who's a problem. And it's this young man right here, Shawn Asbury. I think he's known goods, man. I think he's the bee's knees. And you have NFL caliber assessment of him, right? And I say that because Hafley's staff was great at finding good defensive backs. And it's no secret, and they're not getting lucky that this young man is so dominant and so amazing. The only issue with him is he's not 6 feet tall. He's 5'10". And when you're 5'10", nobody wants you to be a DB because the wide receivers are over 6 feet tall, and they want all 6-foot DBs. I'm watching teams only sign 6-foot tall guys out of high school, and they're not any good. They're signing a bunch of 6-foot tall dudes because they meet the metric requirement. It's like the coaching staff said, do not give us anybody. I know this because I had to talk to Devin Rispris, the recruiter for Colorado. And when I talked to him on Twitter, he said, yeah, hey, Rico, I'm going to take this comment down. He wrote a comment, and he said, D'Angelo Pons is good. He's just not big enough. That's crazy, bro. You're ignoring players that are good because they're not big enough? That's wild to me. If you know these guys are good, go get them. They're better than who you have on your team. And then he deleted the comment, and he gave me a call, and he was like, hey, man, I just don't appreciate you. I retweeted what he had to say. I don't care. It is what it is. I'm going to let people know. If you said it, 10 toes or 8 toes, depending on who you are. But Shawn Asbury, for me, complete stud. My hidden gem for Indiana this year. I hope he plays great, and I hope he doesn't let me down. I expect great things from him, all right? I expect great things from Indiana. I know they play in a tough conference. I know they have a tough schedule. I don't care. They're going to be competitive in their losses. They're going to look good in their wins. Then it's just going to all kind of gel together. I really believe in Indiana. Your friends don't know. But Rico knows. Go watch the rest of the playlist. Learn about all the hidden gems before the college football season so you're not surprised on Saturdays. I know what I'm doing. Peace.